20 books, including her popular Passport to Success, a book series which we have asked her to bring with her today. And by the way, I believe that you may even get to take one of them home with you. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome certified speaking professional, a recovering attorney, and the mother of two, Linda Swindling.
Okay, so the first book I wrote was about 360, oh, my sister's holding it up, isn't that cute? My sister brings the book. Look at that big old brick of a book. That took me about a year, so that does sound very impressive, doesn't it? 20 books. Now they're this size. Where is it? There. Not so impressive, right? Today we're going to talk about breakthroughs. You would not be in this room if you hadn't had several breakthroughs. You would not be in this community if you weren't already successful. However, how many of you experienced a breakdown this week, or maybe even trying to get here today? We had tax test. Any of you have a fifth grader? Yeah? So today, just getting somebody out the door was a breakthrough, you know? And about 4 or 5 years ago, I really started examining why are some of my clients mastering the breakthrough. They're getting there faster. They are high achievers. They're CEOs. They're successful. How come they're so much better at getting to the breakthrough point when so many others aren't doing it? And my background is before the recovering attorney, which is like a 13-and-a-half-step program. The last step and a half is stop arguing, and I absolutely refuse to do that. But before that, I was a broadcast journalism major. And where's Pam Curry? She's here somewhere. Pam and I actually, not at the same time, but we worked in the same television station. And so as I was examining these high achievers, I said, if I had to do a television show, if I had to report out on what these people were doing, what would I report out? And it wasn't their education, because there were far more experienced people education-wise, better degrees. And it wasn't even so much their connections, or what they had written, or that they had money. The distinguishing factor to a T, the distinguishing factor was how they thought. So yes, negotiation is important, and yes, communication skills, and yes, how you connect, oh, that's so important. But the mindset was the most important. And have you ever had business kind of collide with your personal life? Yeah, it's not just blending, I mean, it collides. About that same time, my husband and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. And I got that gift that says, honey, I want to be with you another 20 years, 30 years, a lifetime. That special gift that says, I know you, I love ya. Anybody ever get one of those gifts? Really? Let me see, show of hands. You got a vacuum cleaner too? Yeah, actually, this is a Roomba. Do you know the Roomba? It's like the R2-D2 of vacuum cleaners. I don't like to clean at all, but I like gadgets. And the Roomba is the ultimate in vacuum cleaners. It looks like a little round, big Frisbee, and it really does move like R2-D2. Do you remember R2-D2 from Star Wars? And it will clean, and it's the best cleaning I've ever seen of any floor. Ours even says, oh my goodness, I need more energy, and it goes and it finds its docking station and plugs itself back in. How cool is that, right? And here's the coolest thing. It knows, it's got the self-protection mode, and it will get to the edge of a surface, and it's got a height sensor. And it says, oh, if I go further, I'm going to drop off. And since we have a 2-story house, is that important? It's hugely important, right? So this is what the kids and I did. We just watched the Roomba going back and forth a lot. And yeah, it would get all the way to the staircase and it would back away, and it would get all the way to the staircase and it would back away. And I was like, wow. Well, just a few months later, we got wood floors, which means that I didn't have to call the carpet cleaner all the time, because the wood floors look like they stay cleaner. And I thought, okay, I'm going to combine the two, Roomba, wood floors. Well, when they put the wood floors in, because it was after construction, they have to build a little platform. And they hammer down those wood floors, and it raises, the floor's about an inch, not an inch, about a quarter of an inch, just a little thing. And you don't really notice it because they give you a little transition piece. And so in between the tile and the wood, maybe this much. And I put my favorite anniversary gift to work, pressed the button, and the Roomba was happy on the wood floors until it got to those thresholds, that transition piece. And as soon as it got to the edge, it said, height differential, I better protect myself. That Roomba could not tell the difference between a 2-story drop and a quarter of an inch. And I mean, I did everything. I pulled that thing over. I'm like, come on! It would go up, but it would not take the chance on the thresholds. And that's when it hit. What these high performers were doing was when they got to the threshold, the ledge, they thought differently than the other professionals. Their threshold thinking caused them to take action quicker, caused them to think through things in a way that was much more logical. And if they said, this is something I don't want to do, they can make that decision very quickly as well. So, threshold thinking is what I call this process. And the very first thing in that process is the CEOs, these high achievers, were aware. So there is a bookmark somewhere, who knows, under the dessert or under your chair, and it's got this little circle, if you'd like to follow along, right here. And if you're like me, it does say that, I promise. So they are aware. Be aware when you're at the ledge. That's one of the key things. Okay, yes, I'm at a ledge. What am I going to do about it? Is this something I want to proceed with? Well, high achievers do something very, very interesting. When they're at that ledge, they ask questions. And their questions sound like, what do I want? Why do I want it? Is it worth my time and effort to get it? What do you think? Should I be doing this? Bottom line it for me. What's in it for us? And why do they ask those questions? Well, because they have so many people coming at them all the time. They have so many people trying to vie for their attention. What they're doing is they're trying to funnel down, where do I put my laser focus right now? So the questions are key. And that very big book that my sweet sister Karen Ann just held up was not the way they wanted me to talk to them. Well, let me tell you, on page 327, I have a definition for you on that. They didn't want, when I communicated and when I watched other people communicate, what did they want? When you were talking to CEOs and high-level achievers, they say, give me the executive summary. Give me the Reader Digest version. Do they want you to know that page 327 has a definition on it? Yes. But they want to only know that about certain things. So when you're talking at that level, know that you may have to drill down on one or two things, but come at that level of folk with a executive summary. Here's the bullet points. And I even say, so where do you want to start? Do you want to start with a broad overview, or do you want to get into some details? Those of you who know and deal with CEOs, high-level execs, they want that bullet-pointed version. The other thing that was interesting was they asked questions in order to make their decision. They do not make a decision until their question is answered. So what's so interesting is I will talk to some people and they'll say, well, he's just not listening, or she just didn't hear me. For 6 weeks, I've been going in with the same marketing plan. I said, play it for me. Well, I'll say, well, Tuesday, 10 a.m., I'm supposed to meet with this CEO, give them the marketing plan. I said, okay. The last time I came, they wanted a color graph. I said, okay. What did the CEO say to you? Well, he said, okay, I've got one more thing. What are we doing this for again? And she said, you know, I have knocked myself out for the last 6 weeks on this report. I cannot believe that the CEO would say, what are we doing? Do they not care? Does he not care about me? Interesting. Replay that under this model. The CEO was really saying, give me more information so I can make this decision. Not I don't care about you, but I haven't got enough information yet so that I can make a decision and we can move on. And here's the trick. If they are still asking you questions, they are still interested in what you are saying. Because what is the very, very most valuable thing that a high-level decision maker has to give you? It's not money. They've got plenty of money. It's their what? Their time. If you are getting questioned by someone at that level, that is one of the best compliments that can be paid you. You've got their attention. If they are asking you questions, they want more information and they're trusting you to provide it. As opposed to one of two things. Either they will dismiss you, he or she will dismiss you, or they will tune out and go ahead to the other 83 things in their head and let you blab. So be aware, and remember, be aware is not beware. It's not a Roomba kind of activity, right? I'm on the ledge. What are my ledge opportunities here? Next, ask questions. Live in the question. And then third, decisions. Now, you want to talk about a CEO or a high-level decision maker really being curious in what you have to say? Look at your bookmark. What does that bookmark say? Talk their language. See what they're interested in, bottom line it for me. Or payroll. And those of you who own your businesses in this room know the fear of not being able to make payroll come Friday. Talk about the people, high-level decision makers, CEOs. They are scared to death that one of their key people is going to leave them. And you know what they should be scared to death? Not only that they leave them, but they go and compete against them. And there are people in this room who have had the person, their trusted advisor, their second in command, or their partner, take their secrets and go set up shop and take their clients. Talk about opportunity. Most CEOs and high achievers, they are out a year or two, maybe 5, ahead of the rest of us. Market share. How do I get market share? How do I slice and dice to get the market share? That is the language. And maybe, and here's a hint, if they start talking about personal stuff with you, they trust you. That is one of the best compliments in addition to their time that they could ever give you. Should you lead with, how is your cat? No. And it's so interesting, those people who are great at making relationships with everyone else, when they get to this level, they try to make that personal relationship. Someone who makes decisions does not want to make a personal relationship with you until you've proven yourself of value, and a big one, someone that they can trust. If you ever have questions about, I have nothing else to say to this person, or what should I do? Should I press benefits? Should I tell them more benefits? No. You know what the language of CEOs is? We've just talked about it. They ask what? Questions. Go to a question. Go to a question. When in doubt, go to a question. Live in the question. They say to you, well, I don't really think so. We've had 4 or 5 people. So you're happy with what you've got? Well, I don't. Tell me, what's going to happen 3 years from now if you continue doing what you're doing? Interesting. Or, this is my favorite, when I used to have to interview CEOs all the time, got the privilege of interviewing CEOs all the time, right? The thing that I would always ask them is, so, you have to rebuild your company, let's say. Yeah, I wouldn't, but yeah, okay. You got an $80 million company here. Yep. Name 5 people that you'd have to put in that lifeboat and row them off in order to make sure that that company worked. Ask them thought-provoking questions. Do you know how you know you've got somebody's attention when they're at that level? It's when they say these words to you. I haven't thought about that before. Or, nobody's ever asked me that question before. You mean the 5 others that have been in front of me haven't asked you? What about these 2? Live in the question, because that's the language of your high performers. Also, look around at your table. I want one of you to volunteer to be the CEO of your table. Just volunteer. Volunteer. You got it? All right. You're going to be the volunteer. Okay. And some of you are like, I don't know what. All right. I understand some of you are not willing to volunteer. So for those of you who didn't volunteer, we'll do a little easy one. Put your finger in the air. I want you in a second to point to the most responsible looking person at your table. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, if you have the most fingers pointed at you, wave at me. If you got the most fingers pointed at you, congratulations. Leaders of the table, in a second, we're going to make a commitment on white cards. Your responsibility is to make sure everybody at your table finds their white card, gets a paper clip. If they don't want to write it out, they can stick their card on with the paper clip. So white half sheets of paper, they look like, hold up one, like that. There you go, just like this.
Like this.
Yeah, and Debbie says a paper clip looks like this. There you go. Thank you. So, where are my CEOs of the table? CEOs of the table, leaders of the table. If you do not like the job that has been assigned you, what can you do? Delegate, absolutely. Absolutely. You've got 30 seconds to make sure everybody has a paper clip and a white piece of paper. Paper clips may be in the middle. All right. So CEOs, at the end of the lunch, we are not going to make the 60 volunteers come by and pick up the white papers. You're going to see where it says Journey On and a big sign there. You're going to go and bring the white pieces of paper of your table to the Journey On sign, all right, with the commitments. Now then, some of you are saying, what's in it for me? And I know this, that's all right, because we're all listening to that radio station, WII-FM, playing stereo. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? I understand. So if, indeed, leaders, you do that, You will receive the wonderful Set the Standard passport because you were such a great leader. All right, so thank you for making the decision to be a leader or being forced to, which can sometimes happen. Now then, leaders, CEOs, high-level folks, first off, they're aware, then they ask questions, then they make the decision to ask, and then they commit. And they commit their time, their resources, they commit what it takes to make it possible. Those of you who work with sales staff, you want them to do this cycle just in this order. How many of you have been committed to deals that if all of the deals look like that, it would take you out of business? Because some sales folks cannot stop the deal making. So be aware, ask questions. Is this worth it for our company? Why? Then move into making the decision and then into committing resources. One other lovely present just recently that my husband gave us for Christmas was scuba diving lessons. Now, I don't know about you, but I question a sport that fully submerges you underwater and that you have to take your oxygen with you. Are y'all in agreement with me on this? I was very aware during that class of the opportunity that laid before me. Did I ask a lot of questions? Oh, yes. Especially since my 10-year-old and my 16-year-old would be also doing the family scuba diving event. This is also the man who wanted to make our house the house magnet and moved my grandmother's dining room set out of our dining room and put in a pool table. So you kind of see what's going on here. All right, so make a decision. Before I committed myself to jumping into that very cold Comal River where you couldn't see, I went through that process. And what's interesting is, what's really scary is when you have to walk the talk. Have you all ever done a motto and they kind of throw it back at you? Our motto in our family, based on one of my CEOs, Tricia Hosek, who used to be the president of Tech-Elec, she told me, Linda, you're having trouble with your teenager not wanting to participate? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, do you not know about FFF time? And I'm like, really? FFF time? And y'all can keep this. She said, yeah, we tell them, no, you can't go with your friend. No, you have to come go with us to putt-putt golf or whatever. It's forced family fun time. Forced family fun. So my little one was in the river, floating and doing mermaid stuff and everything else. And she goes, come on, Mom, it's FFF time, forced family fun. So before I jumped in, I thought about this cycle. And I thought about where a lot of us make mistakes. Because isn't that what we're worried about and risk-taking and going to the next level is the mistakes we made? And what's one of the biggest mistakes? Well, you can just jump in without looking. And some of you are nodding about some business decisions you've made where you've just jumped in without even really thinking about it. Or what else can you do? You can overthink that decision, can't you? Where you think, oh my gosh, and what happens if you overthink it? The decision and the opportunity can do what? Pass you by. And you can also do one other thing that's a mistake. You cannot trust your gut. And I would say probably out of all of them, that's the one in this room where we beat ourselves up, isn't it? Where you didn't trust your gut. So before I jumped in for forced family fun and before they floated by me, I did say something doesn't feel right. And I looked at my instructor and I said, hey, Kev, I'm not breathing very well through this thing. And thank God I did, because the mouthpiece was on wrong. And he had to take it off and get me a new mouthpiece. What I would say to you on that is, high achievers, CEOs, high-level folks, they move through this process And they really do, before they totally commit their resources, they do one more check. Hey, am I jumping in too soon? Hey, am I waiting too long? Am I trying to get too much information? Or, gut check. Does this really, really feel right? How many of you read that book, Blink? You don't know why something's wrong, but there's something wrong. Commit your resources after you go through the process. And what I'd like you all to think of is, what are you willing to commit to do? Because you know right now of a threshold of something that could be a breakthrough in your career and your business. I'd like you to think about, what's one thing I could do that I could commit to? Either start doing it on a regular basis so that when we saw you 30 days from now, you'd say, I've done this consistently every day and it's made a huge difference. Or maybe it's stop. I'm going to stop doing this, it's wasting my time, or it's not a good use of my resources, or I'm a little sick of it. Or, you know what I really need to do is take this next step. What is my next step? And CEOs, I want you to give your table a minute to just write down something that they could start or stop or commit to. This is not a group activity, just write down something on your white sheet. What is something you're willing to start, stop, or commit to? Debbie, we're like, got about 30 seconds. Write that down at the bottom. What am I willing to commit to, or what am I willing to do as my next step? You got about 10. All right. Now then, if you want me to hold you responsible and accountable for that, I will be your coach on this. I will send you an email reminding you about this, and then I'll send you in one more. So if you like that, that's why you can attach your business card. You can just put your email address in the email slot there. Finally, adjust your course. One of the CEOs I worked with, he had a tough year. Wow. $60 million company. And what he did was he was doing some installation. Now the line that he decided to branch off into was very similar. It's a very similar line. And same folks, same distributors, same people, basically same skills, same clients he'd be delivering to. So it made sense. He'd researched it. He'd asked all the questions. He was aware of the opportunity. He'd made the decision to do it, and he committed the resources. Unfortunately, he got hit by the stock market. And what's even more unfortunate was the two manufacturers he had paid in advance also got hit. Hit so bad that even though he had paid in advance and they had materials on their truck, because of bankruptcy proceedings, they could not deliver the goods. And so he had to make this very tough decision to lay off about 30% of his staff. And some of you have had to make that decision before, to lay off somebody that's worked for you and worked hard. And I walked into his office and I said, we'll call him Bob. Bob, so how are you feeling right now? And he said, oh, yeah, it's tough, Linda. But we had to adjust. And here I was thinking, I'm going to have to take him out, go drinking, or I'm going to cry. I had some Kleenexes in my purse, whatever. And I said, that's it. You're going to have to adjust. And he said, Linda, I don't have the luxury of beating myself up on a opportunity that I was aware of, that I asked significant questions, that I made a good decision, that I committed the resources I needed to. I'm going to have to adjust because the other 70% of my company is looking to me to see the leadership. And I'll tell you, We don't have that luxury either, do we? We've got to adjust. We got to do the best thing we can right now. You can't beat yourself up for 3, 4, 5 years. 5 years ago, I wrote that kind of a contract and it did not work, and you don't have the time. Give yourself permission to adjust and move on. I end every quote or every speech with the same quote by Ben Sweetland. It's, success is not a destination. It's a journey. You all, congratulations for the success you've had. Congratulations for where you're going. Congratulations for making the time to be here where it's so exciting and all the activities going on. And congratulations to both of you for playing such an incredible event. You all journey on. Thank you so much.